So have you ever used your skill set on friends?
Oh, yeah.
We are not telling them. Just think of like in the back of your mind, like
psychologically
yeah.
reverse psychology them to the point
Yeah.
where you're like, oh, I know that's how they're thinking. But
people ask me a lot whenever people meet me, friends or not friends. Whenever they ask me, they tell me things about what's going on with them, and they ask me for my advice a lot. I can't give you advice from like a 2-3 minute conversation at a party.
That's true.
Yeah.
And also, they also have to know that psychiatrists and therapists aren't supposed to give you advice. They're supposed to help you discover what you want to do. They're supposed to help you reflect on what you want, and they're supposed to guide you into deciding the choice for yourself. But a lot of people approach psychiatry or approach therapists as like, tell me what to do. And I'm like, well,
they're lazy. They're lazy, probably.
Yeah,
you know?
it's the easy way.
Hey there. Welcome to the Gluten-Free Organic Thoughts podcast, where you are encouraged to express your natural thoughts and views through casual, meaningful conversations that hopefully can lead to learning and understanding new perspectives. To find out more info, visit www.gfOThoughts.com. Now, here are your hosts, Michael Wong and Robert Din. We hope you enjoy this episode.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another great episode of Gluten-Free Organic Thought Podcast. My name is Michael, and always with me, Robert Dan.
Hey, guys. How's it going? Today we have a new guest on, Dr. Krysti. She's coming on. How you doing?
Hi. Yes, hi. Thank you for having me. Looking forward to this conversation.
So Krysti, you and I met like a while ago, right? Like 3-4 years ago. New York City. I think just partying, right?
Mutual friends, and then we went skiing.
Mutual friends. Yeah, that's right. Mutual friends. And I appreciate your time coming on, especially on this beautiful Sunday outside in Philadelphia. You know, I'm sure you're enjoying the weather there. Springtime right now.
Yes. Not as good as California and Orlando, though.
It's hot.
San Francisco's pretty nice right now, actually. Yesterday it was like 70 degrees outside. We're like, it's so warm outside.
Yeah.
And then I get this weather.
All right, so for today's discussion, we had Dr. Krysti on in terms of talk about mental health, and I wanted to kind of bring this topic to circumvent that in our prior episodes we discussed this a little bit here and there, but we have a specialist today, and I think from this discussion, Dr. Krysti Vo, she's gonna give a little bit background herself and walk us through also in terms of some of the awareness that we need to be aware as we're coming out of COVID quarantine and getting reintegrated back to society. So before we get started though, so what are we drinking?
Krysti, go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm just drinking water.
Water. You could just light switch. I'm thinking just straight up vodka.
Yeah, that's straight vodka. Chugging down the vodka. Yeah, for me, what I'm drinking here, I'm drinking this sparkling wine as usual. It's Augusti Torello Mata.
There we go. Sunday fun day. There we go.
Sunday fun day. That's how it works.
I am drinking my mushroom coffee. Pretty straight up this time. No cold or nothing in it.
Clear cup this time.
Clear cup this time. It's real. It's not fake. Yeah.
Because if you didn't know, like if you ever watched the show, like Mike always brings on this cup, and it's like a black cup, and you can't see it. And every day he comes on saying he has something different, but we don't know what it is. Like you never know.
Maybe not. Maybe he's getting a list of different names of different drinks.
Yeah, I mean, it just has water inside. You know?
Now, I wouldn't do that to the public, okay? I wouldn't lie to like that, okay? So I decided, you know what? I'm going to prove everybody wrong. From now on, I'm going to have a clear cup all the time.
Yeah,
so.
Clear cups.
All right, well, so Dr. Krysti, so let's, for those who don't know you, I guess, give a little bit background yourself. One, I guess, what you study and why did you choose that major in the first place, right? I feel like you have a passion for this. I want people to know it.
Yes. Okay, so I can start out with telling the listeners a bit about my background. I am Vietnamese. I immigrated to Texas when I was 5 and went to college at UT Austin, Hook 'em Longhorns.
There we go.
Then went to med school at University of Texas Southwestern Medical Center in Dallas. And when I was in college, I did the typical pre-med biology major, and then I knew I wanted to go into med school. And even before I went to med school, I was interested in psychiatry. And psychiatry is often confused with psychology. Psychology is getting a PhD or getting a PsyD now, where you don't have to go to med school. Psychiatry, you do have to go to med school. And psychiatry, you can learn how to prescribe medication for severe mental illness, such as schizophrenia, bipolar, and other mental issues that would require medication.
So is it the same length? It's the same length as pretty much like other med profession or medical profession, right? It's the same exact length.
So we have to go through 4 years of med school, just like any other medical doctor. And we get our MD, and then we do 4 years of training after med school.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
So it's even more than family medicine. Family medicine is 3 years. Internal medicine is 3 years. Psychiatry is 4 years, and then that's adult psychiatry.
Gotcha.
For me, I have a subspecialty of child and adolescent psychiatry. That's 2 more years after.
Wow. So you did 6 years afterwards.
Wow. 10 years total?
6 years after med school. And then,
10 years total. Wow.
Wow.
For me, though, I actually did a fast track. So for people interested in going to child and adolescent psychiatry, they can skip their 4th year of adult psychiatry. So I did my.
Wait, how do you skip the 4th year? Hey, I want to volunteer to skip 4 years. How does that work?
You just tell them beforehand that you're interested in doing child and adolescent psychiatry. And you just plan to leave a year early.
Gotcha.
So, and that's typical for people who want to go into child psychiatry. They tend to skip the 4th year and then do more 2 years. So 5 years total for me. So
let me ask you this before we even go. Later on, those 9 years, right? Did you ever come in a situation where I'm like, why am I doing this? This is so much school. I'm just wondering, did you ever have some kind of doubt? I'm just wondering, because if you're already so far in, like, and then you're like, oh, I'm almost done. Oh no, I'm like, no. I should quit. I shouldn't be doing this. Like, have you thought about that pivoting or no? You already knew it.
Not me personally, but yes, there are people who go into med school and decide to not finish med school.
It's just so much. It's so much though.
Right. And, for me, I did not. And sometimes when you're in something already and you already have a trajectory, you just kind of, it's like a tunnel vision.
Mm-hmm.
You just focus on what you do next. You don't even question it until you finish. And similarly, a lot of my colleagues, that's what they do too. They just kind of
tunnel vision it. Just tunnel vision it.
Get to the end. But if you're so tunnel vision, do you get to the end and ever be like, why did I do all of this?
Yeah, some people, and they do things like I did. Like I start a startup company, Telehealth startup company. Orchid.change, by the way, if your listeners want to check that out. It's a telemental health startup company for people to find individual therapy as well as group therapy and support groups easily.
Gotcha.
Interesting.
So now, after you graduated, what did you do after that? Like, did you decided to, okay, I'm going to join this company to work, or you had a vision, hey, I want to work for this bigger company to get the experience? Like, did you end up, like, I'm just wondering, what was your vision after you graduated?
Yeah, so after I finished my child psychiatry fellowship, I joined a children's hospital, a major 3 children's hospital, and I became a faculty at one of an Ivy League school of medicine. So
that's awesome.
That's
other trainees.
How are you enjoying that? I'm pretty sure it's very rewarding.
I actually, I didn't expect to like to teach so much, but I think I do. I find that I do like to teach, and it's not like the typical. Although I do give lecture to some of the residents and trainees, usually the teaching is really on the clinical. Basically, they see a patient, then they come talk to me about the case. I see the patient, and we discuss the patient case together. Things like that. It's more clinical teaching, not so much like freshman biology type of teaching.
Nice.
Oh, true. Yeah, I did not like freshman biology. That was it's not fun. But yeah.
Well, also it's not like a big lecture hall, right? It's not a big class, right? Like you taught, or was it a very big class?
And so most of the teaching I do is just for the fellows, the child and adolescent psychiatry fellows.
Okay, so it's very niche. It's very small, very niche type of deal.
Like there's 6 of them.
Oh, 6 people at a time?
We just do virtual teaching now during COVID. But in person, we will just have a small room.
Okay, gotcha. So how long you been doing that for?
About 3 years now, almost 3 years.
Nice. So now, as you come in, as you developing more in your career, right? Do you have a next 3 to 5 year plan? Like, what do you want to be at, sitting there yourself? I'm just curious, because at the end of the day, I feel like a lot of doctors who once they finish med school, they get a job, they made it, right? It's like some doctors may want to proceed, to continue doing research or try to learn other procedures, stuff like that. Like, so what does psychiatrist do? Like, what is the goal, the longer, bigger picture? I'm just wondering.
So for me, I also do research, digital health research.
Okay.
Basically, I look at how automation can help in clinical care.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
That's what I study from a research perspective.
Yeah.
But I also develop software for where I work. I have a digital health grant from a private company to use to develop the software. So that's what I do for part of my job.
Gotcha.
So because of that, my career goals are different than the typical psychiatrist. The typical psychiatrist would really just perhaps climb up the ladder to be medical director. I'm already a medical director, and then they would just stay in academia or stay in a teaching institution for a while, and that's how they advance. Other people decide to go to private practice, and they kind of built their private practice on their own, and that's how they advance in their career.
Gotcha.
Some people work a mix of things. You work for a bunch of different companies on different days. But for me, my career goal is to build a career in doing to build digital health software.
Gotcha. And that's how you're pushing your contribution, your goal, you're envisioning, because I feel like with technology, you can get that to more people.
Yeah. For me, I am about how can we use automation to improve the clinical care for both the clinician, the doctors, and the patient.
Gotcha.
I think a lot medicine is behind. Medicine still use phone calls, set appointment, right?
Yeah. I actually wanted to talk about that because I know you're very passionate about that, and I think we can talk. Talk about a little bit about your startup that you're doing as well, right? Because it goes hand in hand. So you mentioned that you saw this gap, right? And they're behind. Like, so what made you decide? I'm going to do this, even though you're not a tech person. I think that's a challenge, right? Because at the end of the day, when you don't know something, you just don't know, but you still want to passion to pursue it. And so, like, what's driving you that? Because I feel like you have a big passion for this.
Yes. Well, my driver is to really want to help the clinician avoid burnout, physician burnout, and clinician burnout is a real thing. A lot of clinician, and most of the burnout is attributed to administrative tasks. Documentation.
Really?
Oh, that's why the documentation part of it.
Yeah, and
really, I didn't know that. Oh.
Yeah, so that's number one reason. And so I actually want to save lives, right? So physician burnout leads to suicide. The group of physician per capita, we have a high rate of suicide.
Oh wow!
I know that. Wow.
Yeah. So I wanted to learn how to use software so that it makes the life of the physician easier instead of making it more cumbersome. So I focus on how to automate things like to avoid the clinician pressing any single button to process payment, to avoid pressing any button, to having to email patient their Zoom link and put it in calendar, and all that stuff can be automated. So that's my focus on how to make things so automated that all the clinician do is show up for the telehealth visit and then get paid 2 days after.
Gotcha.
And when I built Orchid, the website is currently orchid.exchange. That's the goal. The goal was to do that. And it does do that now, but we were always adding new features and new automation to amp up and make it easier for the clinician.
That's pretty awesome.
That's awesome.
So when did you launch Orchid?
We're still in beta. So
Okay.
our people that are on our platform are our beta provider. They give us feedback. We improve it further, but we think we're going to launch officially to the public later in the year, maybe fourth quarter.
Nice.
Nice.
Congrats. That's awesome. So like, let me ask you, so did you come up with the name Orchid, or do you have, or is it a group collective name? I'm just curious because Orchid sounds very like unique in the name, but it's not related to healthcare, not related, you know what I mean? Like
Yes. It's a funny story. So we were debating names. We threw out a bunch of names. No one could agree on it. No one liked any. And so I said, how about Orchid? And then so my co-founders are 3 other guys. I'm the only girl.
Yeah.
And so I was just saying it for fun, like, how about Orchid? And then they're like, wow, actually Orchid sounds nice. Because when you think
it's complex enough, it's complexity enough, it's pretty enough.
And when you think of Orchid, you think of calm, peaceful, elegant,
peace,
grace. And so they all said, great, let's do it, Orchid. And then turns out they didn't know, but my Vietnamese name, Lang Ji, is Vietnamese for branch of an orchid. My name
really?
is Orchid.
Nice.
You just named it after yourself. That's all.
Yes, I did.
So my co-founder well, then it's meant to be. So my co-founder know that the name of the company is my name. Mm-hmm. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome though. And so now, obviously you're in beta right now, right? Like, how do you? I guess I don't know, for any kind of startup, right? What are some challenges that you have faced right now that you didn't thought when you started the company, right? You didn't know that you're gonna face this. I'm just curious, like, and how did you overcome that? Like.
Yes. So I think when you're with any team, right? Yep. And the team is young and new, there's always going to be some communication conflict, some decision-making disagreement, things like that. And I think that goes along with any startup where you have to work through, learn how to collaborate, learn how to communicate better. So I think those challenges are more are more prominent than the challenges of how can we fix this bug, right? Those are like very concrete things.
Yeah.
But the soft stuff, the soft skills and the soft mediation and collaboration skills can be challenging sometimes, especially being the only woman in the startup team.
Yeah.
And maybe largely if only a few women is on our co-software developing team. So it's mainly guys who tend to, as you know, like guys actually, they don't even realize they're the best guys ever. Like they are venomous themselves, right? Yeah. But they don't realize that they interrupt me all the time. And I actually had to point them out, like, hey, you're interrupting me. And they're like, oh my God, sorry, right? It just, that's it.
So they're not aware of it. They're just not aware of it. That's what you're saying.
Exactly. And I think even the well-intentioned people, there are subtle biases that you're not even aware of.
Yeah.
You may be doing that, and I pointed out with them, and they find it's funny. It's a funny dynamic. But it reminds me of this TV show I saw on Apple TV called Mystic Quest. It's a new TV show. It's only in its second season. And the second season, episode 1 and 2 just came out on Friday. And
you're on that show.
The girl there, the lead developer there, she's an Asian girl. She goes Poppy Lee. And I feel like Poppy Lee is my alter ego because she when I saw that TV show and she's like, you guys are interrupting me. Or like she's like.
So you can relate to her.
You relate to her.
You understand her feeling.
Exactly. I was just like, oh my gosh, this girl is me. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not alone, right? I think a lot of female in tech go that way, like this.
So let me ask you this: are the other founders doctors as well?
One is yes, but two of them are doctors. One is a pain medicine doctor, and one is a psychiatrist, but he's still in training.
Gotcha. Okay. So I guess I feel like everybody is kind of like same level of caliber in terms of education wise. That's what it sounds like, right? I guess with like, 3 to 4 people, I feel like making decisions is kind of challenging. Like, so with that being said, being a psychiatrist, what are some mental challenges that you guys have to overcome when it comes to like making decisions? Because I feel like someone has to make a decision, and how do you end up making the decision?
We do have our own division of decision making. Like it was already said before. So
Got it.
we do have someone who is has most of the say.
Yeah, of course.
Because of the nature.
Yep.
I'm not full time with Orchid. I'm part time.
Okay.
And I'm on the capacity of being an advisor.
Okay.
And a consultant.
Gotcha.
So I'm not employed by Orchid. So because of that nature, my relationship with Orchid is a bit different.
Gotcha. Okay. So everybody has a slice of different decision making. That's what you're saying.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. But so now side question now, not related to Orchid, not related at all. So have you ever used your skill set on friends?
Oh yeah.
We are not telling them. Just think of like in the back of your mind, like
psychologically reverse psychology them to the point where you're like, oh, I know that's how they're thinking, but like if I say this, they're gonna follow me.
People ask me a lot whenever people meet me, friends or not friends. Whenever they ask me, they tell me things about what's going on with them, and they ask me for my advice a lot. Okay. And my thing is that I really need to know your situation in depth. Like you can't have just like a surface thing, right? I can't give you advice from like a 2-3 minute conversation at a party. That's like, true. Yeah. That's not, the advice would not be very good. Useful, yeah. Very useful. And also, they also have to know that psychiatrists and therapists aren't supposed to give you advice. They're supposed to help you discover what you want to do. They're supposed to help you reflect on what you want, and they're supposed to guide you into deciding the choice for yourself. But a lot of people approach psychiatry or approach therapists as like, tell me what to do. And I'm like, well,
they're lazy. They're lazy, probably.
Yeah, it's the easy way.
It's the easy way out. Yeah.
But a good therapist or a good psychiatrist should not tell you what to do.
Yeah. I guess that's true. A good psychiatrist is not supposed to tell you what to do. That's a good way to put that. So that means if if the psychiatrist tells you what to do, that means she's not or he are not doing a good job. That means.
Well, she probably, in that case, she might be overwhelmed or frustrated with you.
You've asked too many times. Okay, just break up. Yeah, we're human whatever.
Too, right? Just break up. We get frustrated. We're like I feel so frustrated with some of my cases as well, right? I'm like, oh my gosh, do this to your kid, or like.
Actually, let me ask you this: have you ever like analyzed your parents like that as well? I'm just curious.
Oh yes, definitely. I have some sort of some level of PTSD, especially when he first came back from the Vietnam War. Yeah. And so, like.
You recognize certain habits that they're triggering, that they're doing, why they're like raising kids that way. Like, have you seen like a little bit like it's kind of like the circle of loop? Okay, you realize, oh, this is why they raised me like this.
Yeah, does it give you a better understanding of your parents and how you grew up with them?
Yes. Not from the psychiatric mental health issue level, but more on just the human level. More on like, I understand why you were so strict. I understand why you didn't want to be my friend growing up, because your parents were never your friend either.
That's true. Yeah. That's
true. And I understand that why you want me to have a stable career path, because your life was just all in flux. Nothing was stable.
That's true. Yeah.
So I understand it from the human perspective. Yes, I can empathize more.
Yeah. Hey, listen, my parents want to be friends now. It's kind of weird. Let me tell you. Trust me, you don't want the other boy.
Totally agree. Like
it's
that's
super weird.
So weird. It's like there's always this like barrier in my mind that I'm like, oh yeah, I can't like be like really good friends with these people. Like these are my parents.
You can't always share stuff. I'll just say,
like, this is my parents. It's like we can be friendlier than we were when I was younger, but not super friendly.
But I feel like, at least especially with my parents, like I don't feel like they know where to draw the line. They're like, hey, tell me everything, I'm like, yeah, I'll tell you some stuff, and they get mad at you for not telling them everything, because like, I thought we were friends. That's the excuse that they use now.
Oh,
Oh wow.
wow.
It's a 180 from
Yeah.
how it used to be.
Yeah, but exactly.
You crossed a different line there.
I crossed the line. I cannot come back to the line.
you can't
Okay.
go back.
But anyway, so going back to to your background, to your passion behind this, right? Like, do you before going to med school, did you have any alternative choices? Do you want to do this, or you already knew going to med school you want to do this route?
So when I was in college, I was a resident assistant, one of those RA.
RAs, you're an RA, nice. I was a DA, so there was the desk job. I didn't want to be an RA. I didn't want to be in charge of those room people. Too much work. Too much work.
Yes, and one of my freshman kid, who was also Asian, had his first psychotic break. Yeah, I don't know you. Basically, have you seen A Beautiful Mind?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and very intelligent, no fault of his own. He just had a brain disorder where he it's straight out of A Beautiful Mind. He was paranoid about the government after him. He had a fantasy about him and one of the girls in the dorm about being together. They're in love. Like in his mind, his reality was different from real reality. And I was hearing his roommate tell me these things, and so I had to talk to him and make sure he was okay. I walked him to the student mental health clinic. They interviewed me. I went to his appointment with him. At that time, he was more lucid, because when you have psychosis, you go in and out of clear and unclear thoughts. And so they weren't too concerned when they saw him.
Okay.
And just like a week later, he was more psychotic, and he was walking around campus, talking about how the government is after him, and his poor roommate, like walked with him to make sure he's safe. And eventually he locked himself in the bathroom, and I had to call the police to get him out of the bathroom and then take him to the ER. I tell the story behind to show that how and he wasn't on drugs, he wasn't on anything. He was just a normal kid. Yeah. And it really resonated with me, because I realized that mental health can really change a person's trajectory in life. You get hit with the mental health brain disease, and you can go down a different path. And I see the path that he was going down as something I want to help. I want him to move him back to that other trajectory that he wanted. So it really empowered me to want to help people with the psychiatric diseases. And get better and be on the trajectory that they wish they want. And
this can affect anybody, any ages, no matter how young, how old you are.
Well, schizophrenia tends to come out first. Psychosis tends to come out late teens, early 20s. Late teens,
really?
So college age was the perfect time that it comes out. It's very rare for no worries. It's very rare for you.
So did you see him? So after you finished your RA job that year, did you ever see him again?
So he did add me as a friend on Facebook. So sometimes I do see him kind of post random mumbo jumbo stuff. So I think that he is up and down.
Gotcha.
It's like any disease. If you have kidney disease, you have liver disease, it comes and goes, right?
Do you think now he's aware of it?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think his parents are aware of it. Hopefully he's getting treatment. Hopefully he's doing well.
So that's what I guess that's what kind of ignited you to. You saw that experience in yourself, and from there you kind of knew that you wanted to kind of pursue this area.
Yes, because I feel like it really changes someone's life and their family, their whole family life.
Just the impact of it.
Yeah, such a different course in life, just from a brain disease. And schizophrenia, the term for schizophrenia used to be called dementia. There's little dementia. And that's because when someone has schizophrenia, you look at their brain, do autopsy, and you look at a person with dementia, and you compare the two. The brain of a schizophrenia person looks like a brain of a dementia person. So,
that's crazy.
So it's real. It's a real brain disease. But people can still do well. There's a law professor at USC. She has schizophrenia, and she still teaches. It's under control. And she's brilliant, a beautiful mind. He won a Nobel Prize for his mathematic work.
That's true.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You can still be brilliant. You can be functional. You just
Yeah.
and so
Yeah,
I want to help people be functional.
Yes, I have a friend who went through a mental breakdown as well. She's actually very functional herself, but she's aware of it. She knows when she has episodes coming to as well. Yeah, and she was early in our podcast earlier, and so but you can never tell sometimes, to be honest, with some folks though.
Yeah.
Is it's interesting because like growing up in an Asian household, we don't really talk about mental health at all.
That's
So
true.
like I don't know if I would have thought it as a career option, just because it's not talked about and it's discouraged a little,
Yeah.
like with the older generation, right? So I was wondering like how how you got to this point where like this was actually an option versus like where when
Did
I
you
was
tell your parents earlier on that you wanted to do this, or did you just say, "Hey, I'm just gonna be a doctor," and then later on, oh yeah, I'm gonna specialize in this? Like, how do you
Yeah.
wiggle that out?
So my parents were very accepting of that because
Okay.
my nephew has autism.
Okay.
And autism it's not necessarily psychiatric; it's more neurodevelopment.
Yep.
Neurodevelopment, somewhat genetic too.
Mm-hmm.
But however, psychiatrists do also treat autism and developmental disabilities. So so when I told my dad I want to go to do child psychiatry and help kids like my nephew, it was just obvious, right? There's so many reasons in life that I witnessed, just like that freshman in college, and then people approaching me as well and telling me their own stories that really resonate with me. But then also my nephew. So my family was not surprised that I went into psychiatry.
Okay.
Okay.
No, but I think Robert's right though. Like, it is definitely a little bit harder on, especially with the older generation, to talk about that kind of stuff. Like, I feel like obviously in our generation, it's very more common because we talked about it, we've seen it, we probably experienced a little bit more hands-on. While our older generation parents, they're just too busy working, just to focus on surviving, focus on, like I said, there's just too much fluctuation in their life, right?
Mhm.
They didn't even have time to even look into this. You know what I mean? So now in our generation, we have time to look into this. We have time to recognize this because our life is a little bit more stable. So
Mhm.
And I also want to point out that yes, I agree. In our parents' generation, whenever they think of mental illness, they think it's a lost cause, right? They don't know that
lost cause.
So they wouldn't think for you to have a career in it because they think it's a lost cause. So I think that's one of the stigma, I guess, or the bias against mental illness from the Asian community, is that they don't know that there is treatment. They don't know that it can be treated. They think, oh, that person we're gonna have to take that care of that person forever.
It's just crazy. It's over. We're done.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, also they don't seek help, and they don't seek help. Like, they just refuse to seek help in general.
It. Yeah. They definitely refuse it.
And that's partly because of the saving face, right? Everyone.
Oh, that's true. That is true. I don't want to look bad to other people. Like, the Asian community talks too much. They're gonna know stuff.
Yeah.
So they hide it. The family hide it. They don't know because they're afraid of losing face.
Yeah.
Because their kids' mental illness reflects on them.
Yeah.
So there's that whole stigma.
So why do you think our generation don't care as much about that face? We're more open to it versus their generation. They're too worried about their say.
I think because of more and more social media, more and more people like you two, Mike and Robert, who are letting people have their own voice through the podcast.
Yeah.
And social media, people have their own voice and they're telling their own stories. And when you see diverse voices and diverse stories, people are more inclined to share their own personal narrative.
Because they're more open about it.
About it. I think really the new technology of communication nowadays, social media, has made people more open to differences.
Gotcha.
I also think American society also affects how we view like mental illness and all that stuff too. I think
culture-wise, you mean?
Yeah, culture-wise, because I think if we all grew up in Asia, we probably would still be in that same mental space. Whereas over here, you see white people going to therapy all the time. They're always talking about it. It's just a normal thing. You're like, oh, maybe we should look into this too. Whenever anything happens with us, like they're always like, oh, you should just go see a therapist or like talk to somebody about it. And so like it's easier for us to have that as an option because
So you think because culturally right now, because we're affected culturally by the American culture, we're more open to talking about it. But if we all of us lived in Asia, you think there's still be this barrier about saving face in a sense in our direction? Really?
Because everybody over there is saving face, right? And over
It's
here,
about status, I guess.
Yeah, it's about status, all that stuff. So I think that's probably a big part of it as well.
Yeah, I agree with Robert.
But I feel like even here, like, you know, the people who are the richest, the highest famous celebrities, they see therapists. And I guess because they help normalize us, I guess in a sense that at the end of the day is human beings.
Yeah.
So do you think from an Asian culture change, if they saw all the Asian people, famous people, rich people, okay, you know what, they have their own issue, they're open about it. Do you think that will kind of break down the barrier a little bit more in their end, I guess, from the Asian culture perspective?
I think so. Yeah, I think if more Asian celebrities talk about mental illness and talk about their own journey, it could be normalized. But I know that I don't know too well, but I heard that K-pop stars, every time they say anything non-traditional, it's a scandal.
I see what you're saying.
Shamed, and they ruin their career. Like even saying something bad about the military in Korea is like ruin your career, and it's a scandal, right? Even saying that you go to a massage parlor is a scandal. I just feel like
so it's too much gossip.
Too much pressure on these Asian countries, you know, for a pop star. And so I think it's going to be a long way to go for Asian countries.
So you're saying that Miley Cyrus will not survive in Asian culture then?
Yeah, I think that's a strong possibility.
All right.
What I do have hope with is the Asian Gen Z, right? The people us or and younger, the Gen Z, they're more vocal on social media. And so I think because we're more global community now, Gen Z throughout the world will be more vocal, and it will spread toward Asia.
And that transparency will help probably.
Yeah. So basically, if you're in Asia, if you're a K-pop star, if you're a K-pop fan in Nicaragua and you're a K-pop fan in Korea and America, you can connect through that common interest, and you can start talking to each other and be friends with each other, and then it will influence each other and be more open.
That's true. Yeah, I can see that happening. So now talk about, you know, social media and how this can help create some transparency behind it, right? How do you see Orchid utilizing that kind of technology to help that out? Because I feel like from a physician standpoint, we get that, right? But also I feel like there's a consumer side of things where there's a lot of close gaps still, like where there's still like that missing connection. You know what I mean? Like, especially like when it comes to like with a telehealth, right? I feel like seeing in person versus telehealth is two different things. I personally, because building that relationship is a little bit harder, right? And also building that trust and building that community base in it is a little bit harder. So how do you envision yourself that especially whether it's Orchid or not, like, how do we make sure that ties in a little bit more inclusively? Like, how do you see that go on, do you think?
So your question is how do we build an online community?
Yeah,
people can connect with each other and be more vulnerable.
Yeah, whether it's through Orchid or not, but how do we not only from an online community, but bring that community with the physicians closer? You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. So what we built with Orchid is that we built an internal messaging system where I can message the patient, my clients, or I can also message other clinicians on the platform, and that way we can refer to each other. Because I don't do therapy, I just do medication management. And a lot of psychiatrists don't. So I would for my work, I often refer to a therapist, but my patients often have a hard time finding a therapist. So it'd be great if I can easily refer to these therapists, and that way we can also collaboratively work together, take care of our patients and clients more effectively. And then through that, we also plan to build out like a forum. A lot of Facebook communities have like physicians group on Facebook, right? And people post up things that I personally think they should not post on Facebook, because Facebook is collecting their data, and I think it's more HIPAA compliant by having a HIPAA compliant forum, because people are using these forums a lot, but it's not HIPAA compliant. So Orchid eventually wants to build a forum where we get, so that the physician and clinician and therapists and psychiatrists can can engage with each other in more of a secured,
support group way. Yeah, because you see a lot of those support groups outside. For example, there are different support groups for different things, right? How do you make that HIPAA compliant in a sense? It's kind of hard though.
So what I do, what I was talking about was not necessarily support groups. What I'm talking about is just like Reddit, like a forum like Reddit, but HIPAA compliant forum.
Gotcha. Okay.
So and there's a lot of activities in Facebook groups of physicians and therapists talking on those platforms, but they're not HIPAA compliant.
Gotcha.
And Facebook is stealing their, it's analyzing their information, right?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Versus if we built a HIPAA compliant forum system, and physicians that know that their information is not being used against them or not being used to
manipulate them, to be sold. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that is better for a system. So that's what we want to build. But the support group is basically that is a fully functional feature of our platform right now. Where I host support groups for Asian American professionals, general professionals like you, Michael and Robert, and also Asian American therapists. So I host three different groups that people can join, and they can find it on Orchid.exchange under Find a Support Group. And the support group format is basically just like me and you. It's like video conferencing.
Yeah.
But I mediate that. I facilitate that. And I started the support group so that I can, as more of a way for myself. I want a safe space to connect with my fellow Asian American Pacific Islanders after the post-Atlanta shooting.
Yep.
And I felt that other therapists and mental health professionals may need that as well. May need a safe space to process, because there was an increase and there still is an increase in Asian American Pacific Islander AAPI seeking care. And so a lot of therapists see that increase in their clientele. But for the first time, therapists are having what we call bystander trauma, where for the first time, when people talk about trauma, right, they don't look like us, or white patients, don't look like us. So we don't really have that bystander trauma. Yeah. But now, for the first time, Asian American therapists like, wow, that could have been me, right? Yeah. And so that's harder to hold a space for someone when you're thinking that could have been me, or I actually have my own trauma. I was actually assaulted in New York City as well. Me myself, but then other therapists have said that as well.
So you guys were able to share a story behind that, how to help cope with that a little bit in a sense.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So I created this safe space for AAPI professional and therapists to join. However, I was overwhelmed by the amount of interest. I thought it'd be like there won't be that much interest.
Yeah.
But I am shocked of the amount.
That's a good thing to have, right?
Yeah,
it's a good thing that it's a good problem to have, because at the end of the day now is how can you facilitate the help now? So
yes. But we are the groups for the therapists are currently closed, but the group for the Asian American professional is still open. We still can have a few more people in that group. So if you're listening and you want to join a support group for AAPI, and check out Orchid.exchange and join us.
So like now, let me ask you this: what would be the next step for Orchid to expand that? This one, it's like, because obviously there's an interest in it, right? So is there any plan to expand that beyond, beyond those different groups? Do you have a plan in mind, or are you more focusing on the tech side of things first?
So we are at first a software company.
Yep.
So we're planning to. We're not like a community outreach company, right? We're not a nonprofit in that sense. So we're partnering with American Mental Health Collective. They have a network of thousands of therapists, and they have a Facebook group with so many of over 30,000 followers. And we want to partner with them. They can be the community outreach.
Got it. So you guys work hand in hand next to each other. So because you want to stay on your own, you want to stay your niche, right?
Yeah.
So we want to stay with software. We're a software company, but they plan to use us to host their events. And host
that's great.
Yeah,
that's actually good. Yeah, because now you have more outreach, like you said. You have more resources to use, and they already had that specialty already in that sense, like that.
Yeah. We're not trying to beat them. We're not trying to be that community outreach. We're just a software company.
Gotcha. No, I guess the way you made it sound was like, okay, that was part of your I guess, business plan, not business, more like having your model, right? To help bring people in, bring awareness to Orchid. I thought that was part of the plan. That's why. So, but it's not. It's more like a partnership with that outreach community. That's what you wanted to do.
Yes, yes.
Got it. Okay. That's pretty cool. No, I mean, I feel like what you're doing right now is obviously it's great, because at the end of the day, I feel like, especially our generation, right? We're gonna encounter that more and more, in a sense that, especially as we're coming out of this pandemic, as our life changes, and because technology is gonna evolve and everything's gonna get harder and stuff. It's just, but we're gonna have more time, because as things get more automated, we're gonna be more realizing, okay, you know what? We had to reflect our own thoughts. Like, where the older generations, they're just too busy working. They didn't have time to sit back and to reflect anything.
Right. Yeah.
And so, unless they retire, right? They retire early. They're like, and so, like, I'm glad that at least, to be honest with you, I don't know many friends who are psychiatrists. I'm just trying to figure it out in my mind. I don't have any.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I have.
It's rare.
It's very rare. It's very rare. Yeah.
I have
maybe one?
two, maybe two
Yeah,
friends.
maybe one. You may be my second one, Krysti, to be honest with you. Yeah, and it's just a very tough field, because not only you're trying to help, assist everybody, but you also gotta cope with yourself as well.
Right. And so part of it is having boundaries, right? Mental emotional boundaries. So
how do you have that? That's tough. Like,
you get used to it, just like any training. If you're trained to do programming, you get better, right? At first you might not be as good, and then you just get better and get used to it. So when it comes to being a psychiatrist, we just get used to learning and hearing about different people.
But
and
what's the boundary? Okay, a physical boundary is easy to see, right? Mm-hmm. Emotional boundaries sometimes it's easy to see as well. But for a mental boundary, though, it's tough. I wouldn't be able to recognize that, to be honest with you.
Yes, it is tough. That's why it's so important that the therapists have their own self-care, right? That
That's
they
true.
have time for themselves, and they don't engross too much in their work, because it is hard to hold a safe space for someone else and if you're not taking care of yourself. It's kind of breathing your own, wearing the oxygen mask first, right?
Yep.
That's why I always tell my therapist colleagues, that like we have to wear our own oxygen mask first.
Also, like, it's either one side where you're like too invested, or the other side where you just are so distant that like you don't really have, like, everything's so analytical, you don't feel the emotional side of what they're going through.
That's true.
Yes, and sometimes when that's a big sign of burnout. A big sign of burnout is feeling like you don't care about your patient, or feeling complacent. Mm-hmm. Not putting in the effort that you used to. There has to be a kind of middle ground, right? Not too much effort and not too little effort. Middle ground. But a good sign of burnout is just feeling complacent about things and just don't want to go to work. I hate this. And sometimes it's important to recognize that. A lot of our therapists.
So do you think that burnout is more becoming a lack of passion, or is it more like, I'm just like, I just need a break in general, like half of the time? What have you seen so far? I'm just wondering from your experience.
I think people just need a break. Yeah.
Is it a break?
Most of the time, people still love what they do. It just gets overwhelming sometimes. So they just need a break. 1 or 2 week vacation, not doing anything. Maybe lowering their caseloads, less patient.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That makes sense. All right. Right now we're gonna pivot a little bit to the extra funny session, and then when we come back, we're gonna discuss about the pandemic and how all the repercussions of all the mental awareness situation that we may at least, Krysti, you're gonna help us out, point out some of the situations that we need to be more aware of. Mm-hmm. But meanwhile, Robert, you want to start kicking us off with the funny session?
I had a funny story, but it was like, I had a funny story last night. I woke up this morning, read the article. Was not funny. I was like, I don't know why I thought this was so funny, like when I'm dead asleep, like half asleep. But I do have a funny story. Today is Mother's Day, like that we're recording, and my mom, I bought, like, every year I buy my mom flowers, I send it to her house, and then this year she called me and she's like, hey, don't buy me flowers, I want these shoes. And she sent me a link to the shoes.
That's nice.
So I was like, I don't know, like, I don't know how I feel about that. I was like, Mom, when did we get to the point where, like, you chose your own gifts? Like, I was like, when did this happen? Like, is there a point in time where we're like, all right, now we're just gonna choose our own gifts and then you get us that gift. Like I don't know, but apparently we're at that point now where where my mom's choosing her own gifts. So I bought her the shoes and the flowers still came. I still got flowers anyways. But yeah, it's just a funny story that I was like, oh, now my mom's just like telling me what gifts she wants, where like before I just buy whatever.
Maybe easier for you, right?
That's true. It is easier to just have someone tell you what to get.
It is. So I was going to buy flowers for my mom this morning. I woke up early and everything. And she saw me leaving the door. She's like, what are you doing? She's like, don't tell me you're going to buy flowers for me because I don't want them. And my mom's like, I'm like, you know, what do you mean you want? I always buy you an orchid every year, you know? And she's like, no, I don't need them. I got five orchids sitting here. Just
There's like, too many orchids, Mike.
She does have 5 orchids. By the way, those orchid she kept is still alive for some reason. I don't know how she kept them alive.
In Miami.
Yeah.
Isn't it supposed to be a cold weather flower?
I don't know. It's sitting.
Orchid, the species orchid is the most ubiquitous around the world, meaning the most abundance.
There's so many
different species.
I mean, orchid would know over here. So
yeah.
They're not as delicate as people think. They're very big. You only need to water them once a week.
Yeah, and they survive. And like literally, I saw the orchid I gave her last year for her birthday, and last year's Mother's Day is still there. It still survived.
When you get her birthday and Mother's Day, like
different colors.
So, like, how many colors are you gonna get? She's like, probably at 5. She's probably like, yeah, I have all the colors I need.
But there's so many like type of orchids, like Krysti said, right? Different. They're all pretty. They're all different colors. They're all unique, you know. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of seasonal to certain type of orchids. And so, and I didn't know that by the way. But anyway, this guy in Trader Joe's explained that to me. But long story short, though, she's like, no, I don't need flowers. I'd rather you take the money, just buy me something to eat. And I'm like, oh, okay. At least you want something to eat. Okay, cool. Okay. So we end up getting her like a night. We're gonna cook some steak tonight, but still, like, you know. But at least with that point, she doesn't.
You make a good steak. I remember you. You made a steak at our.
Mike's a good cook. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yes, I totally forgot about that, Krysti. By the way, I totally forgot about that.
You made a good steak. Yeah.
Yeah. So we end up going to like Costco to get some nice steak and stuff. So.
All right. Yeah. So no flowers, just steak. That's nice.
No, I made her creme brulee though for Mother's Day, and so I prepped it last night, and I just carameled it this morning. Oh, I mean, obviously Asian parents, they're not gonna say thank you. They're gonna like, oh, this tastes okay, and eats all of it, you know.
Thanks, Mike. It's all right.
It's all right. No, she says like it's all right. It's not too bad. It's not too sweet. It's actually this is actually pretty okay.
Yeah.
You know. I'm like, okay.
never get a compliment.
You know how it is, Krysti. You know exactly.
Yeah. It's funny. I was watching this YouTuber Wong Fu Productions where they have this one skit where they're like, yeah, Asian parents don't say like I love you, but like a different form of I love you is have you eaten yet?
Yeah.
And so they're like, they just say that, and then they're like, okay, they really do care. It's just they don't want to. They never say.
I turn food down. I turn down food all the time to my parents, and then my parents are like, oh, so you don't fit now? You don't care about my food now? You don't like my stuff anymore? Wow. Like they throw a fit, you know, saying that because I don't show the appreciation for what they do. And I'm like, no, it's just that I don't need this kind of much food. Every time I go home, I always bring a cooler bag of food. I'm like, no, I still got a lot of food in my house. You gotta understand that I don't have space there either. She's like, oh, he's like, oh, my food is not good enough for your fridge.
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa.
For your fridge. Yeah. Wow. See, that's why I don't cook, so that I always have space in my fridge for my mom's food.
Hey, I'll make sure, your mom listens to this podcast. She'll know. She's gonna feed you. She's gonna fill your fridge up. Don't worry.
No, she does. Every time she comes here, she comes to visit, and then she'll like, my fridge is full at the end. I'm like, oh, I love this. Like, it's homemade food.
There you go. All right, Krysti, you want to go with your funny story or funny meme? Anything like that? Do you have anything to share?
I would, So I forgot what my funny story was, but relating to the orchid thing.
Yeah.
On one of my first date, we ended up dating for 5 years, but on my first date with this.
Was this in college or was it?
During med school.
Med school. Okay.
And then he usually when you have a date, or guys don't even give you any flowers anymore, but back in the day they did.
Hey, speak for yourself, okay? All right.
but usually they give you like roses or something, right? Or something. But the ex-boyfriend of mine, he actually brought me an orchid, and I was
Nice.
like, wow, oh my gosh, why did you think of an orchid? And he's like, well, you didn't seem like a rose girl. You didn't seem like you seem like you seem very unique and different. So I think orchid is more like you. And so I was like, wow. And like, well, my name is Orchid, Ranch of Orchid. And he's like, wow, that's so cool. But yeah, the orchid theme has always been part of my life. My mom's name is also Orchid, the fragrance of an orchid.
The fragrance of an orchid. Oh, yeah. That's pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know if I would ever buy a girl an orchid first date. That's a bold move for the guy.
Yeah. It's a long-lasting gift.
It is
right at the beginning.
That's what I'm saying. It's a long-lasting gift. I'm like, that's a very bold move. And you said you dated the guy for 5 years?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So it worked out pretty well. It worked out pretty well for him. So okay, all right.
Yeah. all in the orchid, guys. If you guys want advice, go get that. Go get the girl orchid.
Get that unique orchid, yeah.
And say that. He probably didn't know that. He probably didn't really think I was unique. He was just trying to make me dress up. But that's what he told me. But she's unique, like each orchid is so different, unique like you are.
All right, my thing is not that funny. It was more like a image, so I sent it through WhatsApp, and it's pretty much for those who are not not watching us. For those who are not watching us on YouTube, it's an image of Cleanup Crew, and the title says WAP Cleanup Crew, and they literally have a shirt that says WAP Cleanup Crew.
Yeah, on the back of all of their shirts, they're like onesies or whatever. It says WAP Cleanup Crew, WAP.
Yeah. I wonder what does it stand for real. I mean, this is too
what
funny.
does this WAP stand for?
And you can tell this was in New Orleans, by the way, because you can see the background for sure. Like this is definitely New Orleans.
Oh yeah,
very Frenchy, it's just hilarious. I wonder if the people asking them, "Hey, do you do the WAP dance?"
How long ago was this picture?
I also have my own podcast, and it's also WAP, but it stands for Wine and Psych.
That's right. Yeah.
So it's WAP, and that's what we call our listeners WAPers.
That's what? Is this your cleanup crew here? Are these guys your cleanup crew?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like everybody has have their own unique, I guess, definition of WAP. So it's like yours, Krysti. It's like yours.
Wine and Psych.
There we go. Wine and Psych.
Where we whine, WHINE, about a psych topic.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm looking down at the comments. There's they're trying to figure out what WAP stands for.
No, nobody knows in the comment. I read through that. I read the whole comment. No one knows.
Wireless access points. Worship and prayer. Women against porn. Like it's nobody knows what WAP stands for.
Yeah, it's just kind of funny. So there's 3 guys just holding the mops.
Mm-hmm. They're just hanging out. This is actually pretty recent because it's they're all wearing masks and stuff, right?
Yeah, it's pretty recent. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, talking about mental health, resuming back to the topic, as pandemic opens up, right? Krysti, tell us your, I guess, from a professional opinion, what do you think we'll probably see out of some of the repercussion after being, locked, I guess, being quarantined for so long, right? As we slowly reintegrate into society, what are some things that we should be aware of?
Yes. So I think maybe we can take a little bit back and talk a little bit about what are the issues that occurred during the pandemic.
That's true. Yeah. What are the common issues? Yeah.
Work from home. So what I see a lot is people start questioning that they have ADHD because it's hard for them to focus at home and with their kids in the background or like with so many different distractions that they didn't have before when they were working.
I got no kids. Listen, I got no kids. I have ADHD. I'm guilty of that.
Hold on one second.
A few minutes later.
All right. So before the technical difficulty, I was just saying that I feel like, even me, I don't even have a kid. I feel like I have ADHD, right? Imagine parents like working from home, like you said, they have ADHD with all the distraction going on though. So
yes. And so what I'm saying is that you probably don't have ADHD.
No.
It's
yeah.
probably just the nature of being easily distracted sitting at home. I mean, kids as well get distracted with everyone get distracted if they have to sit all at once in a place that they usually don't work at, and with so many different things like the TV, they can go to the TV and lay on the bed.
Yeah.
Like all
And there's no boundaries, either.
There's no boundaries. Yes. So don't worry about it. Just once we get back to working elsewhere, or I guess if you're working remotely, then you have to find strategies on how to. If you are continuing to work remotely, then make sure you have good habits and good boundaries set up for your workspace and for your relaxing space, because you don't want to mix the two, because then it will hard for you to be in the framework for work. So that's the kind of advice for people who are continuing to work from home.
Yeah, Robert, you hear that?
No, that's something that I had to do. Like I had to, like when we first started work from home, like I would like get up and walk over to the bed, like to the work, and then I would work for a little bit, go over to the couch, work for a little bit, and there was like no separation. So like now I have to like, I wake up, I wake up, I have to get up, I have to get dressed, I have to do like a whole routine that I would normally do when I would go out, and then I go to my desk, and then that was work like area, and I don't do anything other than work there. And then now it's like before you would like walk home from work, but now I'm like walk over to the couch, which is like not enough time, which is one thing I need to figure out, right? Like how do I get that separation?
Take a walk around the block.
Maybe go outside, which I haven't done in a long time.
Robert, you have a park out there. Up there, you have a park.
That's
right there.
true. I have a park like right on the third floor of like over here.
Yeah.
I could go. All right. Yeah.
So that's one thing that I advise people. Another thing is people during COVID, people can get anxious, right? Afraid to get COVID, or
That's true.
Which can still be the case when we start things getting more public now.
Yeah.
There is that risk of getting COVID. So just keep that in mind. But then also people were anxious because they might have lost their job. They might be worried about their finances.
That's true. Yeah.
All those stresses during COVID. So people had an increase in stress, increase in anxiety, and increase in depression during COVID. Yeah. Hopefully things are being picked up more. The economy gets picked up more. People are finding jobs now. But that can still be the case. Anxiety regarding work and finances can still be the case even after we open up. Further, what we also know is that there is this increase in anti-Asian hate during COVID, and it really it has been going on since January, February of 2020.
Yeah, that's true.
It accumulated, the mass shooting in Atlanta was really a big shock to people, but it's actually been going on for the past year. And I just want to have people be cautious that when things open up more, when things are more public, there are people who have been stressed out the past year may take their stress out on Asian people. So there may be an increase in anti-Asian violence because more people are mingling around now. Does that make sense?
So now more people are around and they're out of the house. Now they can now they need something to release all this like pent up frustration, and maybe they'll like point it towards the Asian American community.
Yes. And we have found an increase in activity even in places like New York and San Fran.
We definitely have had a lot over here. Just the other day there was a couple elderly Asian women who were stabbed. Like someone came out and just like stabbed them in the middle of the street while they're waiting for the bus. It's just crazy.
That's crazy. And nobody was around them.
No, it's like so quick. Like they're like the guy stabbed both of them and then just like ran off. Like they caught the guy, but like they're already stabbed, right? Like they're already like injured. So what can you do after that, right? It's crazy.
Were they okay afterward though? At least they're hospitalized?
They're in the hospital. I think they're all recovering. But it's tough.
It just happens. So it's crazy. Yeah. I guess, and I don't want to sidetrack the conversation too much in a sense, but I feel like, you would think for those two most concentrated city with most Asian, you would think there will be less violence, but there's more though, in a sense.
That's because there's a more mix of the people, more mix. Because there's more Asian, there's more diversity. There's also white people. There's also Black people, Hispanic.
But
So,
I guess why is that not more happening in, like, for example, in the Southeast, right? Or
just the sheer number, though. The sheer number is that's lower, like lower Asian, right?
yeah.
Oh, so they don't come into contact with Asians as much. So they'll be
Yes, exactly.
It's more scattered, I guess you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Gotcha.
I always thought that like, oh, like there's more Asians here, so you know more Asian people. So you know all these people are like, you know more people that are different like ethnicities,
That's
right?
the idea. But as you may know, people tend to segregate into their own group and not necessarily hang out with people of their own.
That's true. That's why there's China.
It's a natural habit, though. I get that what you're saying, though. Yeah.
Yes.
So out of the pandemic, I mean, out of the I guess common issues, right? Obviously, you mentioned anxiety. You mentioned in terms of the anti-hate crime. You mentioned in terms of like any other mental health situation. I guess issues that you think that we may have to be more cognizant of, in a sense.
I also think you may feel more anxious in social situations, especially if you're a shy person, where you have social anxiety.
Yeah.
And you get anxiety in social situation. I think you might have more of it now because it's been a year since you really interact with people.
That's
true.
true.
So now going to your first few social situation, you may feel more anxious. However, keep in mind that anxiety is something you have to overcome. The more you get exposed to the social situation, the better you'll get at feeling less anxious. So the first few social events may be anxiety provoking for you, but keep going. Forcing yourself to go.
So do you think
mindfulness exercise, right? Do deep breathing. Do mindfulness so that you can overcome the anxiety and then go to the social event. And you get better the more you go.
So let me ask you this, Krysti. Do we want to encourage people to start socializing more and more as, like, obviously when one gets the vaccine, as things will open up more, or does, I guess, each person go at their own pace, right? In a way.
I think yes. I think you should go at your own pace. Whenever you are feel more comfortable, there's no rush. Everyone has a different timeline, and I think you should definitely follow your city and your state guidelines about social distancing. That's definitely a must. But yeah, definitely don't feel the pressure to engage in such situations if you're not comfortable with it.
Yeah, because I feel like the social pressure, actually you brought that up, right? And I think with the social pressure, I think, Robert, in a sense, like everyone's friends group is different, right? But you start seeing like, oh, all my friends are hanging out already, and then you may not be ready to do that. I'm like, I don't know how my friends are vaccinated or not. Should I join them or not? Like, you have that kind of mental decision to make, and then you start seeing that a lot more as everybody start reintegrating back slowly.
Yes, I agree. And I think it's fair to ask people if they've been vaccinated. I think
but it's like a shame card.
And well, in a way, all these commercials that are on TV about, hey, you should get vaccinated, right? Even a lot of different companies are saying that free beer on us if you are vaccinated, right?
We talked about the free list of vaccination.
There's a list of stuff that you can get for free if you vaccinate.
Really?
You show your vaccine card. Yeah, we have another podcast.
It's a public health issue, and many corporations are promoting vaccination because it's a public health issue. If we need, there's a tipping point of where it's effective, and I forgot what that percentage of the population is. I forgot, but there's one. We need to make that tipping point so that it's more effective. If people are not getting vaccinated, then it's harder to control.
Yeah. But the reason why I'm saying that's because I start seeing more and more now. It's more like a shame card if you're not vaccinated, because at the end of the day, you don't know their story, right? Because like at the end of the day, you don't know the medical condition because it could affect their other health situation, right? Some people may not feel comfortable where they may have, reactions to it, so stuff like that. Like there's certain things because I have a friend who actually their doctor told them not to do it because of their current medical condition. And so it's like kind of like it's almost like a shame card in a sense, like, oh, if you're not vaccinated, cool. Now, do we want that friend to hang out with us in a sense? So it becomes that it's another additional stress. I guess not stress, but it's more like, I guess it's more like a point of where like, okay, what kind of you're in that new decision, you have to make this decision, like in a sense, like
I also want to clarify that when you're vaccinated, it protects you. so that person who didn't get vaccinated, they are more at risk of getting COVID.
Yep.
But you can still be passing COVID on.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Because you're vaccinated, so you may not get the symptoms because you're vaccinated. But if you have COVID,
or the symptom might not hit you as hard, right? The symptom might not hit you as hard.
Yeah, it might not hit you as hard. So what I'm saying is,
So you might have
the virus if you have it.
Yeah, that's true.
Pass the virus on to that person who's not vaccinated.
Yes, exactly.
So it's more on, do you want to hang out with them and have them more in contact with potential COVID or not?
Yes, it does put the people who cannot be vaccinated at a greater risk. And you're right. There are diseases out there, especially immune compromised people.
Yeah.
They can't get the vaccine. For many reasons.
Yeah. It's just interesting to see that, because that's another I guess stress point, right? Because as we start slowly integrated society, so I mean, like now I think that's more like a repercussion, I think, because obviously of COVID, right? So what other repercussions do you think you see coming out of COVID besides financially? And
before we move on, right? Like I found that like I'm working way more during COVID, so that's like that's true, also a repercussion of all of this, is that like I just always feel like I'm on and like always have to be working.
Same
and here. I feel like that has a lot of mental stress on you, just like not getting a break, right? You don't feel like you're getting a break from work.
People are working more on weekends, and and when they usually don't work on weekends because now they have less social things to go to. So you are right. A lot of people are working more during COVID. And so what I recommend for that is to really set boundaries with yourself, right? Besides fragmenting your workspace with your home space, physical location, you also have to set boundaries for your time. Make it a habit where you only work between 9 to 5, and you actually do have to shut down at a certain time. Or you only work 5 hours in the weekend, or maybe only 1 or 2 hours. That's it. No more than that. And the other time you have to focus on yourself or your family. So block out your time for other things, because if you don't block it out, it's not going to happen. You can just sit there and continue working.
Yeah,
I agree.
And if you don't have other things that you want to do, you'll just end up back into work because you're like, oh, I'm like just sitting here. I might as well turn on the computer, right? Like it's
Well, this is why like I end up started taking other stuff. Like I started taking some tennis classes, and I started doing some improv classes, like just to block out time, because it's very easy to get back into work in a sense. Like Robert, when's the last time you took a vacation? That's 2 weeks off.
2 weeks off?
2 weeks off. Yes.
Like way before.
Exactly.
Way before pandemic. Like it was like I don't even take 2 weeks off when it's not pandemic. So like 2 weeks off, like that's crazy. 1 week, maybe. I did do in the last year since I've started my new job, I've taken off 1 week straight once. So like it's like very like before,
holidays doesn't count. The holidays doesn't count.
I know holidays don't count. So like one straight week off, and I was still like logging in and like checking up on stuff. So it's like I don't know. Maybe I'm just a workaholic.
How about you, Krysti? When's the last time you taken a vacation, like went with 2 weeks off straight?
Not 2 weeks, but I was I took Mondays off. My Mondays are my in-person days.
Oh, nice.
Off, and I spent a month in Denver. I still work though.
but that's not off.
I was in Denver skiing. I was half working, half skiing.
But that's not off though. Like when you like, for example, like I decided this week I'm gonna shut down. Like literally this past week, I decided I'm not gonna touch my computer. I took a week off between projects. I mean, I told myself, I'm gonna add another week. I'm gonna take 2 weeks off now. So for the first time, I feel very like relief in a sense in a while, because I haven't had like a 2 week, 3 weeks off in a while since like I said, before the pandemic. But it's just I
want to emphasize what Michael said. I want to encourage Robert to take a 2 weeks off, at some point, because whenever, I don't know about you guys, but whenever I'm on a vacation, it takes me a while. It takes me a few days to get
into it. Yeah, I agree.
Like you said, Robert, you're still checking that email, right? So
I'm always checking email.
Into vacation mode, it takes a few days, and then you're already back at work mode.
I have to turn off. I have to turn off work notifications. Otherwise, it's the worst. Like it'll always remind you to like, oh, here's more work to do. So you gotta take steps.
I don't even get the emails anymore because I have auto reply email. I'm out of the office, so I don't even check it.
No, it's not emails. I don't even get emails now. I get
really?
Slack messages like
Oh yeah.
constantly. Yeah.
They can
you may want to ask your work to give you a separate phone, so that's just your work phone, and then your personal phone is your personal phone.
Yeah, I do that. I have my separate work phone. I turn it off as I do.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
Ask your work to give you a separate work phone.
No, they give us a stipend for a phone. So I could. I just
get an iPhone right there. There you go.
I just use it to pay my current bill. So I could get another bill, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
So now jumping into this, I guess, obviously as we open up, right? So what can we do in order to help out the situation? Like for some of these repercussions, because do we throw like, hey, let's just throw a bunch of parties, just get our anxiety out of the way? Like, do we do that? Like, what do we do?
Everyone join the rave.
Yeah, everyone join the rave. Let's go to EDC. Let's go to EDC or something.
Yeah.
Well, I think we again follow the rules of the city and the state, but also I would do it gradually. Start out with a small group, and a friend hanging out, and then gradually graduate yourself up gradually. But then also, I want people to, whenever they do feel anxious, to really learn how to practice mindfulness, right? Mindfulness is such an important technique to calm yourself down.
What do you mean by mindfulness? Can you describe for those who don't know what that means?
Yes, mindfulness is a broad term that just means focusing on your breathing or focusing on one of your senses. And the most typical mindfulness exercise is just focusing on your breathing. Breathing in and out and counting your breath. And then if you have thoughts coming into your head, all you do is pretend that it's floating away and then refocus on your breath. That's the typical sitting meditation or sitting mindfulness. However, you can do mindfulness with walking. You can walk and you can notice your foot hitting the pavement, if it's your heel striker or toe striker, and then focus on just your foot and your breath. Or you can do mindful listening, where you just listen to the birds chirping while you're walking to work, or listening to music, and that's all you do.
I actually did that at the beach. I did not notice that. So that's what's called mindfulness. So when I was living in Santa Monica, every day after work, I sit down there, watch the sunset, and I just listen everything around me. That's what I did. So I didn't know that's what's called mindfulness.
People typically think mindfulness as like sitting down, doing Zen meditation, focusing on the breath. But mindfulness is just really a focus on one of your senses.
Yeah.
Focusing on your surrounding with concentration and not having thoughts. That's the core of mindfulness.
It's hard. It's hard to get into that.
It's hard to not think. It really is.
It's very hard not to think because it took me a while to get into that zone.
Yes.
It's very hard.
If you do find yourself having thoughts, just pretend it's floating away. Don't judge it. Don't judge yourself. Don't be hard on yourself. Everyone have those thoughts coming in. You have to be an expert at mindfulness to not have thoughts. So don't be hard on yourself. It's okay. Just pretend it's floating away and refocus on what you're listening to, or breathing, or whatever it is that you're focused on. And mindfulness can also be exercise, right? Running is a great way to do mindfulness. That's why people love it. People who really love running, it's because they zone out and they just focus on their movement. For people swim for mindfulness. Sometimes people work out as a way of doing mindfulness, because when you're working out and all you focus on is your breathing and your motion of working out, that's a form of mindfulness as well.
Yeah. And can you explain why is that important? Just wondering for some folks who don't know what that you do.
So constantly our brain is basically, our foot is on the pedal, driving 100 miles per hour. That's the analogy to our thoughts. Our thoughts is 100 miles per hour, and we don't know how to turn it off. And when we don't know how to turn it off, we're going to crash. You're going to crash your car because you're going to lose control. Especially when you're like stressed, right? If you see a curve turn, that's like maybe an incident, maybe a conflict with a friend, a conflict with a boss. If you're running 100 miles per hour, you're not going to be able to let go and pause. So mindfulness helps you learn how to pause, let go of that pedal, right? Make it lower your mileage to 50 mile, or even stopping, right? So you can reset your mind, reset your body, and be more healthy in and out. But people, they're just constantly, their mind is constantly 100 miles per hour. We need to learn how to to not have that.
Yeah, guilty of
When your
that for
mind
sure.
is
Yeah.
100 miles per hour, you tend to have anxiety. You tend to have tension in your back,
Yep.
your neck. You tend to not be able to sleep because you're constantly thinking, you're tossing and turning at night.
Yeah.
Those things are cause stress and cause anxiety and cause depression.
And let me ask you this: do you catch yourself doing that sometimes, like where you tend to like not like? Do you practice that a lot yourself too, or do you catch yourself like, oh my, I need to reset sometimes? I just need to reset.
So I do it with my patient. I do a 1 minute mindfulness every session. I do it with my support groups. We do a mindfulness exercise every.
Oh, so you practice it very often, like super often for yourself?
I would say in a day, I do it, 5 times a day. But
Wow, that's a lot.
Wow.
Only 1-2 minute a day, 1-2 minute at a time.
So
total, it's like 5-10 minutes.
But what is it? I guess everybody might be different. What is the typical how long the time frame people supposed to be doing that? For me, I literally can sit there for 30 minutes and gone by, but then after 30 minutes, I'm like, okay, I'm done.
I recommend people doing it throughout their day.
Throughout the day.
If they don't have time to just sit and do mindfulness, that's great. That's a luxury to be able to do that, right?
Yeah.
But if you don't have time to do that, then just do 1 or 2 minutes before every meeting, right?
That's true. That's what.
That
Or
would-
1 to
would
2
work.
minutes before you go exercise, or 1-2 minutes just before you eat. You gotta do mindfulness exercise and then you eat, or 1 or 2 minutes when you're brushing your teeth. Are you really focusing on the teeth, your brush stroke, or are you having all these thoughts? Stop having those thoughts. Refocus on your brush strokes.
It's tough though. I'm telling you, not to think. It's very tough. Especially
really hard.
Especially if you have a long day of work and then you try to do it after work. I feel like it's easier to do it in the morning than in the evening, to be honest. Because when you wake up in the evening, when you wake up in the morning, you don't have that much thoughts, right? So it's easier to clear, not think about stuff.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah. So.
But what my point is, you don't have to just sit there and do mindfulness.
Gotcha.
You can just do it throughout the day. Like if you're putting dishes away, why not take that moment to put dishes away and just focus on your breath? Trying to block out any thoughts. Focus on putting that dishes away and focusing on your breath. Incorporate it into your life. It's easier
That's interesting.
than to try to sit for 30 minutes.
I could never sit for 30 minutes. I'll get to like 5 minutes and I'll be like, yeah, there's not enough stuff going on. And I can never clear my head. Like it's so hard. Like I've tried it like a lot, and it's so hard. You just sit there and you're like, oh, and then you think about not thinking about stuff. Like how does that thought come in? Like okay.
try Calm and Headspace and Insight. Those are 3 apps that are good for mindfulness exercise, and some of it is guided. So you can listen and do what they tell you, and so it's easier for you to do.
Headspace is good. Headspace, I actually listen to Headspace a lot in the plane, so Headspace is really good. And
then there's also, if you on YouTube, you can do guided mindfulness, guided meditation, and then so you can hear a voice and you can follow it.
I do that to go to sleep. Like there's this guy Michael Seeley who does like YouTube videos about like.
Oh, you do it when you sleep, huh?
To like get you to go from like, oh, you're up here, and how to like calm down to go to sleep, and it's really nice.
I had no problem falling asleep. I can turn that off like this.
I know Mike sleeps everywhere. Like he could probably sleep right now if he wanted to. Yeah,
I really could.
I could not do that.
It's good and bad, let me tell you. But I can sleep anywhere. Literally, like, as soon as you get in the car, I can pass out very easily. You know.
I don't have that luxury either.
No, but yeah. So I guess wrapping up this piece of this, right? Like, you mentioned, the additional stress, the additional, the insomnia, the anxiety, especially with the new social pressure that is going to come back. I feel like everybody's going to be on the similar boat as you are, and there might be an awkwardness, there might be like.
Yeah. Like how do you so we haven't been out, we haven't talked to people or been around people in, I don't know, a year and a half, I think now. And now whenever I do meet people, the questions there's a skit last night on SNL where they're like, oh, this is the conversations that happened after the pandemic.
The new conversation that's happened.
And they're like, so how was your pandemic? And you're like, it was okay considering. And that's the conversation every time, and I totally feel that.
And you go to every single person, ask the same exact question.
It's the same conversation, and everybody's like, yeah, considering is all right. That's everybody's conversation, And yeah, like if
You know
you
what,
haven't
should
done
be-
anything in so long, like
Well,
how do
hey,
you have any
you do
conversation?
have a good story to tell, Robert and Michael. You started gluten-free, organic thought.
Yeah, that's
You have a
true.
great story to tell. I talk about my startup.
There we go. That's true. But yes, but you know what we like. You know where we're going with this. Like, so there are certain things that it just should be the same user conversation. Like last week.
Fine. That's fine. I think we just gotta get over that hump. It's
But
okay.
even last weekend, right? Last week was the first time me playing beer pong in like a year and a half. We sucked so much. Just one game lasted for 40 minutes. We're like watching each other, like, oh my god, we're really horrible at this game.
When we went to Joshua Tree, we also had games that were lasted forever. So that was like right at the beginning of the pandemic. So
was it the beginning? No, it wasn't. It was like
it was like 4 months in.
It was 4 months in though. It was 4 months in. Yeah.
So maybe you were just bad like all around. And
No,
this is like
I wasn't playing. No, I wasn't playing. It was other people playing.
Oh, okay.
I said we're watching them. Like, I guess they forgot to play beer pong. It's been a year.
Yeah.
It's possible. It's possible.
I think there is going to be a level of awkwardness of what to talk about, as well as what to do in terms of, do I shake your hand?
It was like, do I elbow you? Do I shake your hand? Do I give a hug?
I would say not. The default is no. Okay, for the time being, the default is still no.
No to all of it? Like not even an elbow?
Oh, you can do an elbow thing. But what I've seen is people just say hi and that's it. They don't hug. They don't shake hands. They don't.
Tell that to Hispanic people, okay?
Yeah, that's weird. It's such a weird oh hey, and then I don't like. But I do.
But I do feel like the level of comfort with each people is slightly different. You're right. But it's hard to gauge that. That's what I'm trying to say.
Right. You can ask though. It's okay to ask. People will ask. And again, everyone's in the same situation. So it's not just you. We're both going to be awkward for a while. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not just you. That's what you tell yourself. It's not just me. Everyone's going to be awkward.
That's true. And imagine going back to client work, right? Going to the office again. I feel like that's going to be also slightly awkward just because, but also a lot of people are eager to go back to the office, to be honest, too. So I was talking to some coworkers that they're eager to go back just because it's a change of pace.
I totally want to go back to work, but my company got rid of their office, so now we're all fully remote completely, and I'm like, man, when are we ever gonna get to see other people again?
Robert, you can consider joining a WeWork or joining a co-working space. Yeah. Maybe not WeWork, but some sort of.
Yeah, would they pay for that? Just wondering if you did that. Just wondering.
They would, but not right now. But still, they said that they will have a stipend for us for WeWork.
That's good.
But yeah, it's just man, if we don't have office is where you meet everybody, run into people randomly, and it is such a different dynamic than just sitting at home and working the whole day through, no breaks, just going, right? So it's
we learned during this pandemic that we actually love is interaction more than we thought.
I totally agree with that. Before I was if I work from home, it'd be great. I love it. I don't need to talk to people. And now I'm oh, I really miss just randomly talking to awkward interactions with people.
Conversation.
Yeah.
Well, at the end of the day, you recognize human beings. We are socially connected. We want that. We're designed, mentally wired for that. We're not meant to be alone. That's the thing. We're just not meant to be alone.
Yes.
And we realize that more and more as as things taken away from us, you realize that more and more. This is why we invented this technology. This is why we're doing, this online stuff. And this is why we had so many virtual happy Zoom hours,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Also, these Zoom happy hours just are no good anymore. They're not enough.
They're fatigued already.
There's not enough interaction. It's just,
like Robert, right? Robert didn't want to do anything for his birthday last year. I just literally drove up and dragged his ass out of his house.
Yeah,
we did.
I was I don't want to talk to anyone. I don't want to be COVID. I don't want to get COVID. I'm good.
Yeah, and I just showed up. I was hey Robert, let's go. We're going to hike. We're going to this park. Let's go.
Yeah, you forced me to hike for 7 miles one way. Yeah, one way for 7 miles. I never hiked 7 miles in my life, and you took me out there.
Yeah. No, but I feel Krysti, you're right on this piece. In terms of take take it easy, right? One step at a time. Reintroduce yourself one step at a time. And part of it is that, get a feel for having that awareness of the people around you, because everybody's going to be at their own pace. That's for sure.
Well said.
Yeah, that's for sure, though. All right. To wrap up this episode, we are going to do a quick venti rant. So, Robert, you have anything to start off with? Anything to vent for, get your chest off the day?
No, I don't think so. I think I'm doing all right. Like, I don't think I'm working too hard. I am working too hard, but I think that's all right. I don't think I have too much of a rant. I think my rant was gonna be that my mom like asked for a gift now, a specific gift. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I think I'm good. Mike, you got anything?
I do got one thing. Not. It's not really necessarily like a very huge rant. It's more like an annoyance. So
they're all annoying, like all these rants.
Like, okay, so I was in LA this past week, right? And I crashed. I stayed at a hotel, and when you have status, you get you expect.
Oh my god, is this a status? A status rant?
No.
First world problem rant.
No, but it's not. Okay. But you expect certain things, right?
Uh-huh.
But obviously, every restaurant in LA is open. Okay, but some magical reason, all the hotel restaurants are not open. All right, so I get that, which is fine because COVID, blah blah blah. You may not have enough people on staff, but at least compensate the people with status. That, hey, here's a voucher for this or the dollar amount. Go have food somewhere else. But they don't even do that.
Wait, but the restaurant in like the hotel, do you get that for free?
Usually we get breakfast for free, like full on breakfast for free.
Breakfast
for free. Full on breakfast for free, and but they don't even have like. So alternative usually I've seen a hotel does is that they partner up with a restaurant across the street. Hey, we're gonna send some people with you with this voucher. We'll pay you guys this stipend, blah blah blah. So you get at least $10 for but there's two hotels to stay at. They didn't even do that. I was like, guys, come on. You gotta do something. I thought
they always had like bagels or like oranges.
No, not even that. They didn't even have that because they didn't even have that.
Okay, maybe that's a good gripe, I guess.
No, but I'm like, guys, you guys didn't even have this to go. I'm like, I let you go back, right?
It's like something there, just something, anything.
There was only hot coffee and hot water. That's it.
Yeah, I'm staying at a hotel right now because I'm still waiting for my home to be done and I can close on it. But I actually didn't notice that. Yeah, you're right. There probably should have been breakfast that I don't have, and they don't clean my
and they don't clean your room every day either. Yes,
they don't clean your room every day.
Yeah,
what's the point of being there? That's the whole point.
My point exactly. So I have to call them for towels.
That's a nice gripe, though. I like that one. Like, why are they not cleaning my room every day?
I have to like put my trash together. I have to put it outside my door, like a apartment complex, and they combine. They get the grass.
Like a savage.
Savage. Living like savage.
Yeah. But I get it because of the pandemic, right? In a sense, I guess. But at least they should do some kind of workaround when you're not around, right? Say, hey, let us know when you're not around. We can come and clean your room.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that way you don't interact with each other, right? But they don't even do that.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, that's
I have no benefits of staying here in this hotel.
That sucks. I mean, that's the whole benefit is like someone's there to clean every day. Like when I come home, it's a nice clean clean room.
Your bed is made for you.
I know, bed's made.
Yeah. Right. Anyway, that's kind of my mini rant, I guess you can say.
That's my rant too.
Oh, that was your rant too.
No, the maids are not cleaning my hotel room. I'm cleaning myself.
So how many days have you stayed so far? I just wonder, Krysti. How many days?
9 days so far.
How many days? 11 days total? Okay. So out of those 9 days, they hadn't come once?
No, not once.
So you had to call them for extra towels, you had to call them for everything, right?
Yeah. Well, I just wear this. I don't need to switch towel every day. But yes, I have to call for them for things. I'm running out of shampoo. I have to call them and get some new shampoo and.
Like, can you call them and say, hey, I'm not gonna be here in the next 3 hours. Can I get room service like that? Can you just tell them that?
Actually, I might ask. Yeah, you're right. I could ask that. Let's see that.
You should ask that. That sounds horrific. Like horrible. How do you live like this?
Yeah.
There's no microwave.
There's no microwave.
Oh, really?
in there.
There's no microwave. So
Well,
like,
okay, certain hotels have no microwave. That's for sure, though. Certain hotels
this
don't have
one
it.
does not. It's a Hilton. It has a good view, but it has not a microwave.
Wait, are you in a regular Hilton or Hilton Garden Inn?
Regular Hilton.
So did you call them?
It's an older one. It's older. But you're right. Maybe I should ask for if they
Yeah.
have a microwave.
Yeah, they usually
Tell
they-
them you want up in the suites now for all of your horrible service that they've given you.
No, but I do feel like Hilton are the ones a little bit behind. I say the Marriott, they're a little bit more further along now. So they brought back full breakfast to all the hotels and stuff. But Hilton are catching up slowly though themselves. But Hilton though has actually, I'll give credit to Hilton. They were smart because they took the pandemic to their advantage where they end up renovating every single hotel. They literally pushed all the projects up and they started renovating every hotel they could.
Wow, that's nice. That's smart.
Because no one's staying there. Might as well just put your project up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'll give them that credit for that, though. Yeah, but anyway, all right. So, Krysti, you want to plug anything in, or where people can find you?
Yes, and people can find me on my Instagram, vo.care, and for my support groups and for Asian American Pacific Islander professionals, so check out orchid.exchange. So basically, the https://orchid.exchange. And the Orchid Instagram is Find Your Support is the Instagram base.
All right,
handle.
we're gonna have this above her name, so
Yeah, and we'll have it all the links in the description. So if anybody wants to find it, then
Another thing, Wine and Psych, my Wine and Psych.
yeah, the podcast.
Wine and
Right?
Psych podcast.
Yes.
My first episode last Wednesday. So every Wednesday 8 p.m. I release a new episode, and for for May, the Asian American Heritage Month. I have all Asian American guests, so check it out as well.
Oh, that's gonna be awesome. Yeah, check out what was it called? Wine and
Psych.
Wine and Psych. WHINE and
WAP. WAP.
WAP.
WAP. Another WAP.
Right.
It's easy to remember though. So
it definitely is. And for,
Spotify.
yeah. So for anybody watching out there, we want you guys to smash that like button, subscribe to our podcast, leave us some comments about anything that you've heard or like any comments that you would have on it for us. And if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or any of the podcast apps, you can subscribe, leave us some comments, send us an email if you need to. And then if you want to watch all of our episodes, you can go to www.gfotoughts.com.
Yep. Until next time, thanks for everybody for tuning in. Appreciate it, Krysti. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, Krysti, thanks for coming on.
This is definitely helpful. All right, take it easy, everybody. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Peace.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Gluten-Free Organic Thoughts podcast. As always, we appreciate you. If you are watching us on YouTube, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like this episode, and leave us a comment. If you are listening to us, please leave us your honest review on your preferred podcast listening platform. And as always, you can find us on social media at Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at GFOThoughts. Drop a comment and give us some feedback. We would love to hear from you. Until next time, see you then.